Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is a companion video. Now, what is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, Monday through Friday, we save some time to take some live questions. However, we often don't have time to get around to all of the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered, so I gather up those unused questions and I bring them here and we answer them on companion videos. So, without wasting any time, let's dive right into the questions that didn't get answered today. Today was Thursday, February the 28th. We had a really good show this morning, but had a bunch of questions we didn't get around to. Let's get over and start answering those right now. We're going to start things off with Timbula the Spider Monkey, who writes, agreed, digital is great for new stuff, but my major issue is the sheer amount of classic content not available. They are still on my shelf and going nowhere. Yeah, that is absolutely one of the drawbacks of digital. And we talked the other day about how Blu-ray is now dying. Samsung has announced the number one seller of Blu-ray content and Blu-ray players has announced they're no longer going to be making new players. And they're getting out of the Blu-ray game. Sales have been declining across the board. Both players and Blu-ray media has been declining in very, very rapid paces. So we've been talking a lot about streaming versus, physical media. And one of the drawbacks of streaming right now absolutely is the missing content that's hard to find. I would argue that if you're having a hard time finding something on digital, you're going to have a hard time finding a disc of it too. Although it might have a little bit easier. Look, eventually everything will be available digitally, eventually. But right now, you're not wrong, Timbula. Right now, that is one of the kind of gaps, if you will, in the chain, is that there's still a lot of content you can't get on streaming. It's growing every day. Eventually, everything will be there. But right now, you're absolutely right. It's just not all there yet. All right, BMC writes, Aquaman 2 officially announced for December 2022. Pumped. Yeah, I'm excited for it too. I had a lot of fun with Aquaman. I think it was better than a lot of people were expecting it to be. I just love Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I enjoyed his performance. And yeah, I mean, was it a little cornball? Sure, but it was fun and entertaining. And a lot of movies are cornball and try to be fun and entertaining, but they fail. Aquaman, I thought, succeeded, so I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel as well. Mark Blaza writes, Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light is one of the animated series I grew up on. Do you think that concept would translate well as a movie? Though it only lasted 13 episodes, I loved it when I watched it. You know what? I'll be honest with you. The name sounds familiar. Hold on a second. From 1987. Yeah, man, I don't even recognize it. I don't recognize it like in the least. Let me see if I can. I can't drag a picture over, but since I didn't watch it and I have no recollection of it, unfortunately, I can't answer your question about whether I think it would translate well because I just have no recollection of it and I don't remember it. But hey, I'm sure there's probably a bunch of people watching this video, Mark, that are like, I remember Visionaries. The names, like I said, the name sounds familiar, but I don't recall ever watching it. I probably did when I was a kid and I just don't remember it. The fact that it only had 13 episodes is probably one of the reasons I don't remember it. Anyway, Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, what happens first, Moana 2 or Big Hero 6 2? I doubt either. Big Hero 6 2 has some baggage attached to it now. If either of them happen, and I, for the record, don't think either of them will happen. But if either of them to happen, I'm going to guess Moana 2 would happen first. But that's just a guess. I'm not basing it on anything other than pure speculation. Just a wild guess. All right, Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary follows it up with, John, you mentioned Anne loving the Wizarding World of Harry Potter a few weeks ago. I do. She loves going there. You should take her to the Orlando version, twice the size, and has Diagon Alley. We've talked about going there. We have talked about going there, and maybe one of these days. But, I mean, to hop on a plane, fly to Florida just to go visit a park for a day or two. When something comes up that gives us an excuse of traveling to Florida, I'll definitely do it. But probably not until then. Look, the one we've got here in Hollywood is great. So at Universal Hollywood, they've got the Wizarding World of Harry Potter there. And I'm not even a big Harry Potter fan. But I love going to this place. They did such a great job at this place of making you feel like you're walking into the movie world. You really do. When you're walking through, walking up to Hogwarts and you're in the whole area, you feel like you have stepped into the movie. And if nothing else, that really gets me excited for Star Wars Land at Disneyland. Because if Star Wars Land can even do like 75% of a good job as they did with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, then that place is going to be some place you're going to have a very hard time ever getting me out of. So I'm very excited about that, and it is great. And if I ever get around to Florida, man, yes, I will absolutely take Anne to the one in Florida. All right. Matt Simon writes, can't wait for Askren in the UFC. A fight I want to see is him versus Khabib. Who do you think will win? Oh, Khabib will destroy him in like maybe 2 rounds. Khabib will completely annihilate him. Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. All right? Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. I don't think there's anybody in the UFC who can beat him. Maybe once you get up into heavyweight, because some of the guys are so much heavier. But I'm telling you right now, even with the weight difference, I'm telling you right now, Khabib would beat John Bones Jones. I know a lot of you are in complete denial about that. He's unbeatable. Other than a fluke. A fluke may hit him. Somebody can hit him with a weird punch or just the right way or a bone snaps or something. Anybody can lose by fluke, and certainly Khabib can lose by fluke. But honestly, he is the baddest man on the planet. He's unstoppable. And I don't think there's anybody who can beat him. And by the way, what are you looking? You're looking past Robbie Lawler, the former welterweight champion? Listen, dude, I'll be impressed just if Askren could get by Robbie Lawler, because I don't think that's any guarantee. So just pump the brakes a little bit, Matt. Just pump the brakes a little bit on looking past Robbie Lawler to Khabib. Robbie Lawler defended that title a number of times. He is as tough as they come. And I'm not guaranteeing Lawler's going to win that fight. No. I'm just saying, don't just look past Robbie Lawler. Let's see if he can get past Robbie Lawler. But nah, Askren would have no chance. Besides, they're in different weight divisions. They are in different weight divisions, but Askren stands no chance against Khabib. No chance. Murray Reich, other than a fluke chance. Murray Reich writes, some people might forget X-Men. Not us. Not us. I don't know what that means, Murray, but I love X-Men. I don't want X-Men going to Disney. I want X-Men to stay its own separate universe. Of course, too bad. It is going to Disney, and they are going to put them in the MCU, although I really wish they would put them in their own separate universe. But yeah, man, I love the X-Men films. I mean, there are a few bad ones, yes, but I'm just saying overall, I love the X-Men films. Zachary Buckler writes, so Ezra Miller let us know that The Flash is taking a long time to come out because of issues with script and story. In other news, water wet. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier today on the John Campea show. I'm getting so tired of this standard template that actors give us when movies are delayed. It's the same thing we get every time. It's, oh no, we're taking so long because we really care. Oh, we're dedicating this one to the fans. We want to make sure we give the fans a love letter with this movie. We hear that every time. We just heard the cast of Fantastic Beasts give the exact same speech. Gave the exact same speech about it. Now listen, I still very much hope that we get a Flash movie. I think Ezra Miller is great in the role. I want to see him play the role. I do. I think Deep Sea right now is on a little bit of a roll with Aquaman, and if Shazam turns out as good as it looks, because I think Shazam looks amazing. I cannot wait to see this movie. With him, I think Flash with Ezra Miller would be a natural extension, like a natural next step for them. But I'm telling you, like I said this morning on the show, every month that passes, I get more and more doubtful that it's actually going to happen. So I don't know. Fingers crossed, though. Fingers crossed. Let's see how this turns out. Okay, next up comes us from Skyler Stewart, who writes, hey, John, Robert, and Ashley. I was thinking that Jeff Lemire run on all new different Moon Knight would be a good movie trilogy for the MCU or possibly the R-rated universe. What do you think? Well, I mean, I don't know. I've never read that particular run of Moon Knight. I haven't read a lot of Moon Knight, to be honest with you. Robert knows this. Unfortunately, Robert is not here right now. All I will say to that, though, Skyler, is this. In saying that this run of the comic books would make a great movie, be careful what you ask for. Because if anything, what DC and Marvel and Fox and Sony have all shown us is that even when they name a movie after something from the comics, they never stick to it. Civil War, the movie, is nothing like Civil War, the comic book run, right? X-Men Days of Future Past is nothing like X-Men. I mean, there's a few thematic things, yes, but if you read the comic, you go, wait a minute, that's not the movie. Well, no kidding. They completely adapted it. So all I would say is just be careful what you wish for, because if they do a Moon Knight movie of a particular run, just be prepared that's not going to look anything like that comic run, because that's what Hollywood has shown us. And for good reason. Just because it works good on a printed page doesn't mean it works well on the screen, and you got to adapt it for the screen and for a different medium. And that's totally understandable, and it's worked. I'm just saying, be prepared for disappointment if you're hoping that they do shot for shot, beat for beat translation of a superhero movie from the comic book to the screen, because they've shown us they don't do that. They do adaptation, and for the most part, it works. DBZ Now writes, hey, John, I was wondering if you've seen Doom Patrol. It's quite good, and critics seem to love it. I have not, but I'm going to, because I've also heard quite good things about Doom Patrol. I decided not to get the DC streaming service until more than just one original show was on it, and now they've got two. Titans is there, and now we've got Doom Patrol. So, probably this week sometime, I'm going to pick up the DC streaming service. I'm going to get caught up on them, because I am curious about it, because I'm a Brendan Fraser fan, so I want to see him in this thing. But yeah, I'm going to get caught up. I've been hearing lots and lots of good things about it, so haven't seen it yet, but I will soon. Okay, Skye Amazing Guy writes, I can't believe the second trailer for Shazam hasn't dropped yet. It comes out in about a month. I like my second trailers released about 2 months before release. Yeah, but come on. Skye Amazing Guy, you're talking like as if it's episode 2 of something. It's a piece of marketing. It's a piece of corporately designed manipulation designed to get you to give them your money, right? Let's not I like trailers, but let's not over romanticize them. They are corporately produced pieces of manipulation designed to get you to give them your money. It's not episode 2 of something. It's a commercial. It's a piece of marketing. So I really don't care when they put the trailers out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited when new trailers come out. Yes. But I'm not like, show me a trailer to this movie. I'm not like that at all, because it's a piece of marketing. It's not the movie. It's not an episode of a show. It's a piece of marketing designed to manipulate me. And I know that, yet I still love them, but designed to manipulate me as much as they can to try to get me to give them my money. And that's what it is. It's a commercial. So I really don't care when they give us their marketing. They'll put out the marketing when they think it'll have its biggest impact. And it'll come. And believe me, I know for a fact that the next one is coming very, very soon. I also know... Well, I may have seen the trailer, but keep your eyes open. It's great, and we're all going to be very, very happy, regardless of how far out from when the movie is. It's going to be great. I cannot wait to see this movie. And yeah, there you go. Okay, Herc08 writes, John, how long do you think the Avengers spoiler discussion will be this year? I'm thinking 10 hours. Bring on the filthy. Yeah, man. What was crazy was I ended up having to do... Like, so many people wanted to talk about Infinity War that when I did the Infinity War spoiler discussion, I had to do it in 3 videos, each one of which was like 2 hours long. Like, I ended up being like 6 hours of stuff that I had to do, and it may have gone on longer if I didn't cut it off. So I did it for like 2.5 hours, the first one, and then it took me 2 more videos just to get caught up on all the questions that had been sent in. This time, we're just going to marathon it. We're just going to marathon it. Like, the movie opens on a Thursday, so I don't like to do spoiler reviews early. I like to let it be in theater and give people a chance to see it. So it'll be out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. So Sunday afternoon, I believe that'll be April 28th. It should be. I believe Sunday afternoon is April 28th. Anyway, so Sunday, April 28th, we're going to start like around 2 p.m. and we're just going to go all evening. We're going to go as long as people want to talk about Avengers Endgame. We're just going to go. We're going to marathon it, and we're going to talk the hell out. And by the way, don't forget, this coming week, we've got Captain Marvel opening. We will also be doing a spoiler review and a open spoiler discussion for Captain Marvel as well. Make sure you guys join us. But yeah, hey, listen, I know you're joking, Herc, but I'm not kidding. 10 hours is not out of the question. It could end up being like 10 hours. It's going to be nutty, but I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Ben Rayner writes, over under 25% Alex Winter, Bill from Bill and Ted fame, cameo in John Wick 3. I'm going to take the under on that. I don't think it's impossible. I think there's a chance it happens, but it's a slim chance. It's a slim chance. So I'm going to take the under 25% on that. Under 25%. I'd probably put it more like around 10%. But so I think it's pretty unlikely. Possible, but unlikely. All right. Cameron Peterson writes, over under 80% Mystique dies in Dark Phoenix. Dude, I think, doesn't the trailer kind of put a cap on it? I mean, I think the trailer kind of puts that question to rest, does it not? She dead. Mystique dead, man. She dead. She's gone. I mean, I don't know where the 80%, I think the trailer pretty much has given us the answer. She dies. Now, it's not a 100% lock guarantee, because it could be a little bit of, misdirect. It could be a little bit of a misdirect, sure. But, I mean, on its surface, it looks pretty cut and clean. Mystique is dead. She dies. Probably pretty early in the movie. At least in the first half of the movie, if not the first act. So I will take, while I won't say 100%, I will take well over 80. Like 95 plus. 95 plus is what I'll go with. All right, Courtney Haynes writes, a few people are making a big deal out of Batista recently saying The Rock isn't a great actor. He's not. But who do you think is the better actor of the two? Oh, The Rock's the better actor of the two. Dwayne Johnson is the better actor. Now, I might be willing to say that Batista is better at this point in his career than Dwayne Johnson was at the same point. I might be willing to say that. But Dwayne Johnson has developed a lot as a performer. And he can actually he's a very serviceable actor now. Not just for his big, larger-than-life charisma, which he's always had, but he's become what I would call a very serviceable actor. Like, I've seen him in a couple of more dramatic pieces like Fast. Or Faster, I should say, which I thought he was great. Snitch, I thought he was really quite good in Snitch. Like more dramatic kind of roles. A great thespian? No. An Oscar contender? No. Is he a great actor? No. But he's turned into a very legitimately serviceable actor that I, as a producer, would feel totally comfortable dropping him in, even if it wasn't an action movie. Dave Bautista's not there yet. He's getting better. He is getting better. And like I said, Batista may even be a little bit more further along than Dwayne Johnson was at the same point in his career. But at this point, there's no doubt, at least to me, that Dwayne Johnson is further ahead than Dave Bautista is. I agree that this is being blown out of proportion. For instance, on a very good website that I frequent and I enjoy, I'm not going to name the website. I don't want to throw them under the bus. But it's a very good website. And even they kind of made it a little misleading because they ran the headline, Dave Bautista says Dwayne Johnson isn't a good actor. And that's not true. What Dave Bautista said was he doesn't think Dwayne Johnson is a great actor. Those are two very different things. And you know that. You know there's a difference between saying I think something is good and I think something is great. There's a difference between there. And the headline read, Dave Bautista says Dwayne Johnson isn't a good actor, but that's not what he said. He said, do I think Dwayne Johnson is a great actor? Fuck no. And I would agree. I am a big Dwayne Johnson fan, but he's not a great actor. But he's a very solid, serviceable actor. And I think it's just important to note, and I think a lot of people getting their panties in a twist because they're reading these headlines. Dave Bautista says Dwayne Johnson's not a good actor. That's a dumb thing to say, but it's not what he said. Now, it's still not, oh God, I wish I could have been there with Dave when he said, I'm going to answer this question by saying I don't think Dwayne Johnson's a great actor. I would just say, dude, just don't answer the question. It's still not a good idea to answer the question. But he did, it was a mistake, but whatever. But still be clear, he did not say he didn't think Dwayne Johnson was a good actor, despite what the headlines say. He said he doesn't think Dwayne Johnson's a great actor, and you and I both know there is a difference between the two. So, so there's that. Anyway, Jake Therian writes, just bought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. What up, Danger? I had a slumber party with all my foes. What's up, Danger? I love that song. Love that song. Listened to it this morning when I was in the shower, as a matter of fact. I just went, hey, Google, play Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. And it just, the very first song on the track is What's Up Danger. That's the very first song on the track. And I love that tune. And yep, it's available on digital now. I haven't bought it yet, but I will be buying it today. I'll be hopping on my Google Play Store and purchasing that damn thing. Like there's a problem. Oh, crap. Sorry about that, Google. I keep forgetting. I shouldn't say, hey, Google. I shouldn't say that with it in the room. Jonathan C. writes, I don't know if it's just me, but the trailers make it look like I'm going to watch another X-Men The Last Stand, and we all know how that turned out. Talking, of course, about X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I disagree. And Robert and I had a discussion about this morning, and one of the points that I made is, let's not pretend that the Phoenix story was anything but a side note in X-Men 3. Right? Let's not pretend that. Like, because some people are talking like, oh my gosh, it's just X-Men 3. I'm sorry. The Dark Phoenix story was totally a small side story. The X-Men 3 wasn't about Phoenix. It was about the kid with the ability to cancel out mutant powers and Magneto wanting to kill that kid and the X-Men trying to defend him and blah, blah, blah. That's what that movie was about. The Dark Phoenix thing was a small side story that they, checked in on once in a while, but it was a small side story. This movie is going to be exclusively about that story. Good or bad, we're hearing bad, but good or bad, this movie is going to be exclusively about that story. So to say that this just feels like X-Men 3 is either completely forgetting that X-Men 3 really wasn't about Dark Phoenix at all, and that was just a minor part of the movie, or I don't know what else you're saying. I really don't. But this movie looks nothing like X-Men 3 because X-Men 3 wasn't about Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix was there. There was a small side story about her, but it was hardly the dominant theme. This will clearly be the dominant theme. And on that basis alone, I think it's going to be considerably different. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be good. Frankly, I'm hearing it's not. Hopefully it will be. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Next up, Tyler Yeats writes, saw Happy Death Day to you and really enjoyed it. Dude, I still haven't seen it. A movie I've been so excited to watch because I love the first one so much, and I still have not had a chance to go see it. Still haven't. I just, and every night, Ann and I realize, hey, we got a free night. Okay, let's go see this. But then something comes up and we can't go. And I don't want to see it without her. Because both of us really like Happy Death Day. So I don't want to, there are a lot of movies I will go to watch without Ann. But this is one we both want to watch together. And it's just been a pain in the ass to coordinate ourselves to get out to go see this damn thing. So I'm glad you saw it and liked it. I'm hearing everybody likes it. I just haven't had a chance to see it myself yet. Juan Mejia writes, hey team, I will be heading to Planet Naboo, Seville, Spain. Oh, that's cool, tomorrow. I'm going to miss listening to you guys for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully I'll be able to catch one or two of your live shows while there. Peace. Well, man, have a great time. My wife, Ann, actually, once a year, Ann has this close friend of hers that a couple of years ago moved away. Once a year, my birthday present to Ann is to pay for a trip for her and her friend to go somewhere in the world. Sometimes they go to Greece, but a couple of years ago, their big trip together was to go to Spain. And they went to Spain. Ann loves Spain. She loved it. And she had a really good time there. So Juan, I hope you have a marvelous time in Spain, at least as good as Ann. Make sure you visit some sites where they shot some of that movie, because that is part of Star Wars lore. And I'm sure you'll have a chance to catch it. By the way, you don't have to watch live. Just watch, listen to it later at night or something like that. But more importantly, man, just have a great time, have a great vacation, and we'll look forward to seeing you back when you get back. All right. Steve Mattern writes, can you close off your feelings so you don't get crippled by the moral ambiguity of your violent actions? That, of course, is a line from Spider-Man Noir, the Nicolas Cage Spider-Man in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's one of the funnier lines of the film. And you know what? A lot of people miss it because that line is dropped in the midst of this rapid-fire dialogue going on as each one of the Spider-Men are firing these questions at Miles saying, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And in the midst of all that really rapid stuff being thrown at Miles, Spider-Man Noir Can you close off your feelings so you don't get crippled by the moral ambiguity of your violent actions? It's hilarious. And then I believe it's right after that, Spider-Ham says, can you float through the air when you smell a delicious pie? Which is also freaking hilarious. I love Spider-Ham in that movie. But it's a great line, delivered great by the great Nicolas Cage. I love that line. All right, Sebastian Dietz writes, did you see Serena Williams may have spoiled Endgame? Yeah, I saw that story. I don't buy it at all. I don't buy it in the least. Because I do not believe under any circumstance she would actually know, or that she would be dumb enough to slip it out, especially on something like a red carpet. I don't buy it. Now, listen, what she said, and I'm not going to go into what she said. What she said is something everybody's been speculating anyway. So there's so many things, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. Honestly, I wouldn't give what she said a second thought. Abdul writes, hey guys, which do you prefer, Justice League or Batman vs. Superman? For me, Batman vs. Superman. I like both the movies, but to me, Batman vs. Superman is better. I had a lot of fun with Justice League, but the reason I think Batman vs. Superman is better is because they gave us a better version of Batman. As much as I like Justice League, one of the things I did not appreciate was the changes they made to the Batman character. I felt they really neutered the Batman character, and for that reason, I prefer Batman vs. Superman, because I like the incarnation of him in that movie better. Let's see. Iconic Comic writes, I think it's crazy how well Marvel either develops or just makes us love characters. Never thought when I first saw them that Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, Nebula, Mantis would have any key roles, and they do now. It's true because they start, Kevin Feige has talked about this, they start with character. Which is one of the reasons, like, Alita Battle Angel has problems. But the main reason I enjoy that film is, yeah, it's got great action, and yeah, it's got great visual effects. But that would really not mean much if I didn't love the character. And Alita is a character that they put a lot of heart into, and I just fell in love. I got immediately attached to the character of Alita. Right from the beginning of that movie, and I liked that character so much that I was with her every step of the way. Lousy, stupid love story, some horribly cringy dialogue, terrible ending. But all of that is overshadowed primarily by the fact that they created a great character. And they started with the character. And then they built some fabulous action and great visual effects around her and all that kind of stuff too. And that's what makes the movie work for me. That is something that Marvel does in its sleep now. Marvel doesn't sleep. It's just so ingrained in their DNA. We start with our characters. We don't worry about, who's the next villain and no, they start with the characters and they put most of their effort in there. And that's why it works so well. And Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, even Mantis has become incredibly likable when she's on screen. So yeah, I think you're right, Iconic. They do a great job with that. All right. CapDre9 writes, did you see the interview with Ezra Miller and what he said about the Speed Force multiverse and the pitch? Might see Cavill as Soups? Nah. Keep up the filthy. Cap, that was actually one of our topics today. We talked specifically about the comments that Ezra Miller made. They're interesting, but before even thinking about, what could be in the movie, you got to answer the question, is that movie even happening first? Like, as a fan, I don't want to invest any amount of my brain power because I've got limited to spare. I don't want to waste any amount of my brain power worrying about what might be in this movie when we don't even know if the movie's happening. They haven't addressed the one fundamental question, is this movie even happening? Because it was supposed to go into production in 2017. Here we are in 2019. We have no date for it. We have no even remote idea when or if it's going to be shooting at all. They keep saying, hang in there. And I hope they do. I like Ezra Miller's character. As far as the Cavill Superman, I doubt it. It really does sound like they're parting ways there. I hope that's not true because Henry Cavill is my favorite all-time Superman. I love him as Superman. Captain of Steel, I almost said. Man of Steel is in my top 10 all-time favorite comic book films. I think it's the most underrated comic book film of all time, and one of the big reasons is Henry Cavill. I don't think he's coming back, though. I hope he does. Fingers crossed. I just don't think he is, but let's see what happens. Brennan M. writes, hi, y'all. You said the Pokemon movies were flops. No, I didn't. You please Please don't misquote me. At $30 million budgets for the first two and $16 million for the third, they truly flop or just underperform. No, I said one of them flopped. The third one flopped. But the other ones, the whole point I was making about the 3 Pokemon films is that none of them had big box office. None of them did. And film after film, their box office dropped. That was the point. So it's like, okay, you can have one made, I think, about $170 million, maybe. It was profitable. It was profitable. The point is, it doesn't matter if you want to measure whether it was profitable or not. The fact of the matter is, it couldn't even make $200 million. And then the next one made even less. And then the next one dropped by more than half. So it went from, in just 2 years, it went from like $170 million to like 60 something million dollars. And that's not opening weekend. That's not just domestic. That's worldwide total numbers. 170 something million dollars. The next one was 130 something million dollars. The last one was like 60 something million dollars. That's just the point, that historically, as big as Pokemon, and Pokemon was huge at the time, as big as Pokemon has been, the movies have never done well at the box office. They've never been bona fide hits. They've never gotten mass amounts of people out to go see them. Now, I believe, if you watch the show today, I believe this Detective Pikachu can be a very big movie. I think this movie could be huge. I think this is a movie that can have like an 80 plus maybe $1 million opening. I think this is a movie that can get into the $600 million range. I think this movie can be huge. I'm just saying, though, like everybody says, you're underestimating how popular Pokemon is. Well, Pokemon was pretty damn popular before, and they put out movies, and they couldn't even get 200 million worth of people to come see it. And then the next one dropped by like 40%, and then the next one dropped by 50%. And I'm sorry, that's not an opinion. Those are facts. Fact. The Pokemon movies have never had a movie that hit $180 million. Can you imagine if DC put out a movie that made $180 million worldwide? Can you imagine if Marvel put out a movie that made didn't even make $180 million worldwide? Can you imagine what would happen if Star Wars put out a movie that made $65 million worldwide? Can you imagine? That's what Pokemon did. Put out a movie that made 60-something million. Put out another movie that made 130-something million. Now, I believe Detective Pikachu will be huge because they're appealing to the general audience, not to the Pokemon fans specifically. Although they throw in a few things here and there, like the appearance of Mewtwo. That was clearly for the traditional Pokemon fans. Great. But for the most part, they are really targeting these trailers at people who know nothing about Pokemon and maybe don't even care about Pokemon, and therefore this movie is going to be huge. My point, Brendan, was not that all the Pokemon films have been flops. It's that none of them have performed particularly great. And you can play the game of, but it only costs this much to make. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is, those movies couldn't get many people out to go see them. And again, that's not an opinion. That's a fact. So, yeah, so it's just, you just got to weigh these things in there. And the comparison I make to Power Rangers, and some people try to say to me, and they're completely, they're missing the point here. Some people say to me, well, John, you can't compare Power Rangers to Pokemon because Pokemon's more popular than Power Rangers. Yes, you can compare it because these are both popular IPs, one more popular than the other. Yes, but both popular IPs, both of them put out films before, then none of them particularly did all that well. And it's the same thing for both. Therefore, the comparison is completely accurate. If anything, the fact that Pokemon is more popular than Power Rangers only makes Pokemon's performance look even worse. Because they were both big, Pokemon may be bigger, and they put out movies, and they did mediocre at best. And then they put out another movie, whoosh, and their box office dropped like a rock in water. And then they put out another movie, whoosh, the box office dropped like a rock in water again. So it is a completely fair comparison. It's irrelevant that Pokemon's a lot bigger than Power Rangers. If anything, it makes it even look worse for Pokemon, that the fact that it did this with its previous movies. Now, again, don't misinterpret that as to me saying that Pokemon's not going to do well. I think this movie's going to be huge. I'm just saying, all this talk about, I'm seeing people on saying, this Pokemon Detective Pikachu is going to make $1.5 billion because it's the most popular thing in the world. I'm like, I'm sorry, history says otherwise. It's going to be big, it's going to be huge, it's going to be incredibly successful, and it's going to spawn a brand new franchise. But pump the brakes on this billion-dollar talk. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I'm just saying we've got a history. They made Pokemon movies. Hardly anybody saw them. Now, you can make the argument that it's a little bit different today. Absolutely. That's why, and they're marketing it different. It's a different kind of movie. That's why I think Pikachu is going to be massive. I think it's going to be a big, big hit. I just don't think it's going to be like $1.3 billion. I don't think it's going to be Black Panther big like some people think. But, hey, let's see. I never thought Venom would make $800 million. And look what happened. So let's see what goes on there. All right. Let's see. Iconic Comic writes, also thought I would ask you, since you are getting so much success on your channel about growth, would you say that consistent content is the big key? We have been stuck on 18,000 subs for a while now. Well, here's the thing, Iconic. First of all, I have a 2-hour video on YouTube that I made like 6 years ago called Getting Started in YouTubing, Podcasting, and Blogging. Just search YouTube for John Campea Getting Started, and it'll be the first video you find. And I go into a lot of stuff there. What I have gone to a lot of conferences and spoken at a lot of conferences and done, even at Comic-Con every year, I talk about building and developing your own YouTube channel and blah, blah, blah. One of the things I got to tell people is something they don't want to hear. And here's something that people don't want to hear. The issue might be that maybe your content just isn't good enough yet. Now, I don't know your content. I don't know that. I'm just saying. But everybody thinks their content is great. Everybody thinks their own content is great. Do you know what I do every day after my show? I watch my show. Because that is the only way you can start to identify the mistakes you make. It helps you sharpen doing what you do, all that kind of stuff. I am constantly trying to get better with varying degrees of success or lack of success, but I'm always trying. And what I would suggest to anybody is, before thinking about, why are we plateauing? Is it because of consistency? Is it because of this? Is it because of this? Everybody's looking for that magic button. Just hit this button and everything will be fixed. What I would really say is look at your content. Is your content good? Is your content appealing to people? Is your content informative to people? Is your content entertaining to people? It doesn't look dude, if you got 18,000 subscribers, man, that's massive. That's huge. That's bigger than 90% of any YouTube channels ever made. But maybe that's just how big your channel is. Or maybe there are problems. Maybe you got to reevaluate your content. In general, consistent content is very important. Yes. But the first thing I would always recommend somebody do is evaluate your own content. And that's where I usually say to start. But anyway, go watch that video. It'll be much more informative than some random thoughts that I'm giving here. Okay. Chris Smith writes, over under 25%, the 3 MCU films this year make $4 billion. Love your show. You guys are awesome. Miss you, Ashley. Well, I was asked an almost 100% identical question to this a little while ago, except instead of 4 billion, the question was 5 billion. Somebody asked me the chances that the 3 MCU movies this year would make $5 billion. And I said that's very unlikely. Because number one, it requires Avengers Endgame to get 2 billion. Now, it's got a good chance of making 2 billion, but it would require it to make 2 billion. If it makes 2 billion, now you need Spider-Man Far From Home and Captain Marvel each to make 1.5 billion each. They each need to make more than Black Panther did. And I think that's a big ask. I don't think Spider-Man made around $800 million. The other origin story movies with characters who were not introduced in other films like Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, they came in around $600 to $700 million. I think it's impossible to believe that a Captain Marvel will make 1.5, considering the track record for first-time movies with characters who were not introduced in previous films. The average is $600 to $700 million, and that includes characters like Doctor Strange and Ant-Man, right? Black Panther was introduced in Civil War. Spider-Man was introduced in Civil War. So that's a little bit different. We've had no introduction to Captain Marvel yet. Can we expect Captain Marvel to make $1.5 billion? I don't think so. Now, The $4 billion number is a much more realistic number because number one, it assumes that Endgame makes $2 billion, which then only leaves $2 billion left for Captain Marvel and Spider-Man to make. That's more realistic because then every dollar over $2 billion that Endgame makes equals less money that Far From Home and Captain Marvel have to make. I would take the over 25%. That combined, they make $4 billion. Over 25%. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you're setting 25% as the line. That's pretty low. So I'll take the over on 25%. Brennan M. writes, also, my mom is recovering in hospital from cancer and has really enjoyed watching y'all after I suggested it. So thank you for helping brighten her day. Well, that's awesome, man. And best wishes to your mom and to your family. So happy to hear you using the word recovery in your email. That's a relief. That's great, man. And I'm so happy. You know, my mom was just in the hospital for a couple of months. She had some heart issues. They had scariest time of my life, man. Scariest time of my life this past year. And like just constantly just waiting for updates from family. So I'm there with you, but man, it's good to hear you use those words. And I'm really glad that our little show can help pass the time while you guys are in there. Thank you for sharing that, Brennan. I really appreciate that, man. And I hope your mom's doing well. All right. Bellcross34 writes, John Wick, a name more fear than Baba Yaga. I now understand why. Finally bought John Wick 1 and 2, hashtag justice for puppy Daisy. Man, I tell you, I still remember the first time I watched the first John Wick, which everybody forgets. At that time, when the first John Wick was coming out, Keanu Reeves' name was a little bit of a punchline at that point. He'd put out a lot of bad movies in a row. Nobody was taking Keanu Reeves all that seriously at the time. And John Wick just looked like a little throwaway cheap action film that was probably going to come and go and be forgotten quickly. And then we saw it. And it blew us away. And the best thing they did, the smartest thing they did was that whole puppy scene. Because them killing that puppy, remember I talked about Alita getting everybody on board with Alita? When they killed John Wick's puppy, here's what happened. Everybody in the audience became invested in the righteous cause of Keanu Reeves to go out and extract holy vengeance. Like, they could have killed John Wick's kid and the audience wouldn't have been as invested. When they killed that puppy, the whole audience became invested in the righteousness of John Wick's cause and crusade to go and extract bloody vengeance. Because I remember hearing I would see guys there with their girlfriends who are just there to, watch the movie with their guy. And then really nice looking girls. And when they killed that puppy, you see these sweet girls in the audience now going, those motherfuckers gotta die. Everybody was just got this bloodlust that John Wick would feel, right? I'm telling you, it sounds silly, but what made that movie was the killing of that puppy. Killing that puppy got everybody invested in the movie. Because John Wick does some morally questionable things in this movie, but we don't care. We want him to kill them all because they are responsible for killing that puppy, and it was just genius. And then that follows through in John Wick 2, and I'm glad you got a chance to watch, man, because I love those movies. Can't wait to watch John Wick 3. Okay, Christopher Mason writes, are you excited for Loki as a TV show? Absolutely. I really like the Loki character. I've loved the Loki character ever since the first Thor movie, when Kenneth Branagh brought him to life for us. And then I love the character in the first Avengers. The tragic death and sacrifice done in Infinity War. I love the character. And so anything that gets us more Loki and more, maybe even more importantly, more Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, I'm all good with, and I'm very excited about. All right, Dan M. writes, do you think DC is thinking about doing a Justice League 2, or will they keep doing standalones like Flash, Lantern, Batman with no interconnection? Well, Dan, here's the thing. Are they thinking about Justice League 2 right now? No, they're not giving it any thought. They've already come out, executives have already come out and publicly stated, right now our focus is on standalone films. We're not worried about the shared universe aspect of our movies right now. And that wasn't any more clear than in Aquaman. There is no tie-in in Aquaman to anything in the extended DC universe other than one very fast, very quick reference that you would have missed if you blinked when Mera says, "You defeated Steppenwolf." And that's it. That is the only reference to anything else. You would think with the oceans turning against mankind and, all these things happening around the world that Superman would have investigated. You would think that the Flash would be going around trying to see what's going on. You would think, but they didn't. They kept it all separate. It was a standalone Aquaman movie. And I think that is a recipe of things to come. I think we will get vague references to the larger DCEU, but it'll be theoretical, not practical. So Justice League 2 or just another Justice League movie will happen someday. But it doesn't seem to be in the plans right now for DC, and they're just focusing on reestablishing their brand, getting their footing again, repairing the reputation of the brand with the audience, and they're off to a good start. Aquaman was a lot of fun. Shazam looks like it's going to be great. And if they can follow that up with another strong Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman movie, they'll be on a good path. But that's their path for now, and they've said that as much. Eventually we'll get it, but don't count on it anytime soon. Ross Pitt Shark Hunter writes, "I'm usually, oh hey, that looks like it could be interesting to any new trailer, but I thought the new Dark Phoenix trailer was honestly just lame and generic. Still excited for the film though." It's funny, Ross, I'm completely the opposite from you. I'm completely the opposite of you on that, because I'm not excited for the movie because I've heard it's not all that good, so I'm not excited for it. But I honestly thought the trailer was actually pretty good. I thought it was much darker. They gave us a better sense of the story of the film this time around. They gave us a sense of the stakes. They gave us a sense that, of the tragedy that hits, the death of Mystique, and the moral dilemma and the conundrum that's going to put all the mutants in. Do we save Jean, or do we have to kill Jean? Because she's a global threat. And she killed Mystique. So I thought there were some very, very good decisions made in this trailer. So yeah, I'm a little bit opposite from you. Not so excited for the movie, but I actually thought the movie was pretty good. Now let's see how it actually all turns out. Okay, next up is Robert Perez, who writes, "A bigger threat than Thanos, full rage Hulk." Not really. Not really. Full rage Hulk can't snap his fingers and destroy half of the life in the galaxy. Even the Hulk can't do that. I would suggest the ability to snap your fingers and eradicate half the life in the universe makes him a bigger threat. Now, I want to see full rage Hulk. I want to see full rage Hulk. And a full rage Hulk should make Thanos sweat. But as far as being a bigger threat than Thanos, a bigger threat that somebody can wipe out all life in the universe like that, I gotta say I still think Thanos is probably the bigger threat. With a gauntlet. Captain Mexico 21 writes, "Jean killing Mystique makes her a hero." Yeah, in many people's eyes. Look, I am a big fan of Jennifer Lawrence as an actress. Her acting talent is off the charts. Kind of like the Hulk's physical strength has no theoretical limit because he just gets stronger as the angrier he gets. Jennifer Lawrence's acting talent is completely unmeasurable. And I believe she's just coming into her full powers as an actress, to be honest with you. That said, I have never felt she has ever cared about the X-Men franchise. Now, that might be fair and that might be unfair for me to say. I can only tell you what my impressions have been. I'm not sitting here telling you Jennifer Lawrence said she doesn't care. No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply giving you my personal impressions of it. But my personal impression as a fan, watching her, one of the most dynamic, brilliant actresses in the business today, and her performances in these X-Men films has been pretty pedestrian and well below what I know she is capable of and what you know she's capable of, which leaves me with the conclusion she just hasn't cared about being in these movies. I'll tell you what, even in that trailer, I was not convinced. It just felt like she was reading lines. And I love Jennifer Lawrence. I will always look forward to new movies she's in, but I will also be looking forward to her departing the X-Men films. I will admit that. But hey, I'll keep looking forward to anything else she's in because I think she's tremendously talented. I just want to see her in things she actually cares that she's in. Even a bad movie like Red Sparrow, I thought she gave a terrific performance. Bad movie, didn't work, but I thought she gave a great performance. I just want to see her give that level of effort in X-Men films, for heaven's sakes. Anyway, Javier Belmer writes, Love the trailers of Dark Pikachu. Love the trailers for Detective Pikachu. First one hints at the original game theme and then adds Happy Together. Second one has original anime song and adds I Need a Hero. What a way to bring in both new and old fans hype. And that right there, Javier, is the point I was making yesterday and today. That the genius of this Detective Pikachu marketing campaign and why I believe this movie is going to be huge is the fact that unlike the Power Rangers movie, which really targeted trying to be appealing to Power Rangers fans, they never said, let's forget. See, with Power Rangers, they never said, let's forget that it's Power Rangers. Let's just put together a kick-ass trailer and pretend like Power Rangers are a new thing. Nobody knows what they are. And let's make a trailer just that shows a kick-ass movie that people can enjoy. Instead, they went, let's remind everybody how much they love Power Rangers. But what about people who have never loved Power Rangers or don't know Power Rangers? They never thought about that. And the marketing campaign didn't work. And I actually ended up liking the movie, but the campaign didn't work. Detective Pikachu has taken notes from that, and they've learned from that. And what they have basically done is primarily these trailers are not for hardcore Pokemon fans. These trailers are for my cousin and for my mom who don't care what the Pokemon are. They just decide, let's just forget Pokemon. Let's just make a good trailer that'll appeal to people, show them that this is a movie that's going to be fun and entertaining. They don't need to know any of this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And that's why it's working. And then they pepper in a few elements that are specifically for the more rooted Pokemon fans, like Mewtwo popping up and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's there to get everybody excited. And therein lies the genius of it. And I think just the stuff you're pointing out there, Javier, is a really good example about why it's working so well. And why I think if they continue on this path, man, why I think this movie is indeed going to be huge. Okay, Gabriel Reed writes, what does the Academy look for in Best Director? Well, listen, the Academy is 7,000 voting members, and all of them could be looking for different things. The Academy, contrary to erroneous popular belief, is not some collective hive mind. They are 7,000 different individuals. Now, they probably look for the exact same things you look for. How well did they take a story? How good of a performance did they get out of their actors? How well did they make the movie flow? How well did they create a coherent narrative, move us from A to B, get us emotionally invested, and blah, 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 and all that? There's a million different aspects about what all of us look for in good direction. And the 7,000 film professionals who make up the Academy Awards are just the same as us. And there's 7,000 of them probably have 7,000 slightly different things that they look for. And that's just kind of the reality of it. Jordan Huxtable writes, chances that if Cap and Iron Man die/retire in Endgame, that Chris Evans / Robert Downey Jr. are brought back for a few movies in, say, 5 years, assuming they would be interested / could. Oh, I think very high. I think very high. I think it's totally a legitimate thing. Like, I've been saying for like 3 movies in a row, Captain America, like everybody said, Captain America's going to die in Civil War. And I kept saying, no, he's not. And sure enough, he didn't. Then everybody says, Captain America's going to die in Infinity War. And I said, no, he's not. And sure enough, he didn't. Now everybody's saying, Captain America's going to die in Endgame. And I'm saying, I don't think he will. I don't think he will. He may. But I don't think he will. Same with Iron Man. I don't think Iron Man's going to die either. But even if they do die, because, dying in a Marvel movie means nothing. I do believe even if they take hiatus, either through the death of a character or retirement of a character, if that happens, and I'm not convinced it will, but if it does, Jordan, I do believe it's very feasible. Forget 5 years. I think within 3 years, you could see them popping up on the screen again. I do. I think you could see that happen because fake deaths are all the rage in Marvel things. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but I think it would be a very good chance. I look at either way. I still don't think either Iron Man or Captain America will die in this movie, but even if they do, either way, I do not think Endgame is going to be the last time we see either Chris Evans as Captain America or Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Whether they live or die at the end of this movie, either way, I don't think it's the last time we see them. It may take a year, may take 3 years, may take 5 years, but I do not think that this movie Endgame is the last that we'll see of them. That's kind of how I feel. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. NPE94 writes, you should do a video for your butter popcorn trick. I did do a video, actually. It was my friend Erin Cummings. I took her to the movies this one night, and she videoed me doing the butter with the popcorn thing. It's on her Instagram page. Just look for Erin Cummings. She's the actress. Look for her on Instagram, then go down her post. You'll find a video of me and her at the movie theater, and she puts up a little video of me demonstrating this is how you do the butter with the popcorn thing. It's on her Instagram page. Gabriel Reed writes, when making a comedy, where's the line drawn at taking a joke too far? As an aspiring filmmaker, I think it's important for everybody. Thanks. Dude, if I knew the answer, look, I'm not a professional screenwriter. I've written a couple screenplays like everybody in this town has. I'm not an expert screenwriter. But I do think, yes, you do have to find that line. But I think the line is different for every joke. The line is different for every story in general and every joke specifically. There's no one answer to that. So, and even if there was, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I am not a dedicated full-time screenwriter. I'm not the guy to get that. But I do believe, yes, that is when writing comedy, it's very important to know when, okay, we've gone on this joke too many times, or we've pushed this joke too far. We've tried to stretch this joke out more. We've worn out the welcome of the joke. You do have to find that line, and that is very important. But again, there's no, a single template answer to that. Every joke is unique. Every story the joke is within is unique. So you just gotta, my best advice is you just gotta feel it out. But the other best advice is to get the advice from an actual screenwriter, not me, unfortunately. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, is there ever a clear sign on whether a film has a bad script versus miscast? Well, bad script and miscast are two completely different things. Those are two completely different things. For me, as much as I love the first Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, I've always felt Mary Jane was miscast. You had a tremendous actress in the role, but it was one of those situations where, hey, on paper, I could see it, but once the movie came out, she's a great actress, but that wasn't quite the role for her. And there was no knowing that until you got on set. There was no knowing that until you got on set and started doing it, and the screenplay was good. But yeah, I don't think there's any kind of I think miscast versus bad script, those are two totally different things. And I don't think those two things are are things you can confuse. They're very, very radically different things. So that's my thought on that. AG System 120 writes, A-List is the dark horse for getting Endgame to 290 million. I'm watching it all weekend. Well, yeah, I think there's going to probably be a bunch of people that try to use their A-List that much. Look, I feel like getting to 280 is possible. I still think unlikely, but possible. But as the the Entertainment Research Foundation that put out that $280 million projection, even they said in that report, if Endgame is 3 hours or longer, it's going to cut their projection by a bunch. It'll cut their tracking a bunch because it will equal nationwide thousands of fewer screenings that can actually happen. Because even if your local multiplex, if they only lose out on one or two screenings, now multiply that by 1,000. That happens over, across North America. Now you've lost out on thousands of potential screenings. That will knock down the projections a lot. So we really got to see A-List or not. We're really going to have to see how long this movie is, because even the Research Foundation that put out the projection of $282 million, they said in the report, if this movie is 3 hours or more, it is going to hurt that number significantly. So let's wait and see what the runtime on Avengers Endgame is. Let's see. Where are we at? Light Runner 87. So you don't like In-N-Out or ketchup on eggs. Yep, Justice for On Forever. I know everybody in California, when I mention I do not like In-N-Out burger, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a little burger joint. It's a little fast food burger joint. Not a very good one in my opinion. But everybody in Los Angeles swears on their mother's life by In-N-Out. It's like In-N-Out is the greatest thing ever. And I think it's like soggy cardboard. But that's just my opinion on it. Don't take my word for it. There are a lot of people that would swear on their lives by In-N-Out burger. I just don't think it's very good. I think McDonald's burgers are better than In-N-Out burgers, but hey, that's just me. And so, yep, You must be a Californian, Light Runner, because when I say that around any Californians, they always look at me like, a pox on you and your house. How dare you? It's like I just blasphemed or something, you know? It's when I say I don't think In-N-Out's very good, native, what do you call Angelino? What do you call people native Los Angeles? Los Angeles, Angelinos? I can't remember. But whenever I say that, people who live in LA look at me like I just stomped on a kitten's face. Like they're just disgusted and shocked all at once. Like, I didn't think you were even allowed to say that. It's kind of crazy. But you're not alone, Light Runner. You're not alone. All right, Jordan Huxtable writes, thoughts on a reboot of The Running Man? I'm totally cool with it. I'm totally cool with it. Hold on a second here. Let me just bring up something. Wait a second. That's not the one I'm looking for. I am completely good with a remake of The Running Man. I'm completely good with it. Because in general, my overall premise is that go ahead, remake any movie. Remake any movie. I don't care. If the movie's good, great, we've got another good movie. If it's bad, oh well, we still have the original. I say remake anything. I really don't care. So yeah, go ahead, remake The Running Man. Jay Wright writes, at this point, do you think any boycott of any comic book film could actually make any of them flop worldwide? No. Well, it depends. Like, what we're looking at right now is a small... Like, when you're talking about the Captain Marvel thing, you're looking at a very small, vocal, completely misled and completely deceiving group of people who are very vocal and like a baby on an airplane, makes a lot of noise to make everybody uncomfortable. It will have an impact. Will it make Captain Marvel a $200 million film at the box office? No. Remember, I think Captain Marvel is going to come in around $90 to $100 million opening weekend. I know some people are saying 120. Some people are even saying north of that. I think it's going to come in around $90 to $100 million. I've been saying that for weeks. Even when Robert Meyer Burnett was saying $150 million opening, I applaud his enthusiasm. I have been saying consistently, I believe it's going to be $90 to $100 million. And it will make somewhere around Ant-Man and Doctor Strange money between $600 and $700 million. Maybe a little bit lower, like maybe 575 or something like that. And that's a hit. That's a hit. Do I think Captain Marvel is going to come in at like $350 million? No, it's just not. So do I think that one? Now, any boycott, well, I don't know. Like, let's say the next Doctor Strange movie was coming out and video footage comes out of Benedict Cumberbatch taking a baseball bat and beating a box of puppies to death. Well, yeah, that could end up costing that movie a lot and making that movie flop worldwide. Yes, that could create such a massive boycott, then yes, that could do it. We haven't seen anything like that on that level yet at this point, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, final message of the day, and then we are all cut up, comes to us from Ben Rayner, who writes, hope you had a good day, John. I have had a marvelous day. I've had a couple really great things happen the last couple days, and today was even great. Every once in a while, my wife has some free time in the afternoon. She's like, let's get together for lunch. So me and my wife got to go have lunch, which is awesome. Had a good time. Had a great show this morning. Everything is good and just singing beautifully in Campia land. It's kind of great. So thank you for that, Ben. I really appreciate that. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. We're now all cut up. Don't forget, me and Robert will be back again tomorrow for the John Campia show tomorrow morning. Robert normally doesn't join me on Fridays, but since he wasn't able to be on the show yesterday, he said he wanted to do the show on Friday this week. So he's going to be on the show tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join us for that as well. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the companion videos. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campia, and until the next video, bye-bye.